12 Terrifying Stories of Phone Calls from the Unknown. Story 1. The Disconnected Number. It started with a wrong number, or at least that's what Adam thought. One night, as he was getting ready for bed, his phone buzzed. Unknown caller. He hesitated, but answered anyway. "Hello?" Static crackled through the line. Then a voice, soft, distant. "Help me." Adam's skin prickled. "Who is this?" A long pause. Then, in a barely audible whisper, "I'm trapped." Before he could respond, the call cut off. His phone screen flickered. The number displayed was 000000000. Unsettled, he called back. A robotic voice answered. "The number you have dialed is no longer in service." Goosebumps crawled up his arms. He shook it off, probably some glitch or prank. But the next night the call came again. This time the voice was clearer. A young woman. Desperate. "Please, don't let him find me." Who are you talking about?" Adam demanded. A breathless pause, then, barely above a whisper, "He's watching you too." The call ended. Adam sat frozen, his heart hammering against his ribs. His apartment was quiet, too quiet. He turned slowly, scanning the darkened corners of his room. Nothing. Just his racing imagination. Determined to prove to himself that it was just a prank, he traced the call. But the results baffled him. No origin, no record. The call had never happened. That night, sleep evaded him. Every creak of his old apartment felt louder. Then, at 3:07 a.m., his phone buzzed again. Unknown caller, his breath caught in his throat. He let it ring. The voicemail icon popped up seconds later. His hands shook as he played the message. At first, just a static. Then, the voice, clearer than before. "He's already inside." The phone slipped from Adam's fingers. A cold chill wrapped around his spine. He turned toward the bedroom door. It was open. He swore he had closed it before getting into bed. His pulse pounded. The hallway beyond his room was pitch black. A deep, suffocating silence filled the space. Then, from the darkness, a faint shuffle. Adam's breath hitched. His trembling hand reached for the lamp, but before he could turn it on, the phone rang again. Story 2. The Babysitter's Warning. The eerie phone call, the babysitter's warning. It was supposed to be an easy night. Watch the kids, eat some snacks, and make a little extra cash. Jenna had babysat for the Parkers a dozen times before. Their 2 kids, Lily and Max, were sweet, and they usually fell asleep without a fuss. The house was big, but cozy. Nothing about the night felt different at first. By 9 p.m., the kids were tucked in, and Jenna curled up on the couch, flipping through her phone. That's when the landline rang. She hesitated. The Parkers had never mentioned expecting any calls. Still, she answered. "Hello?" Silence. Then a slow, raspy breath. "Hello," she repeated, a little uneasy now. A whisper crackled through the line. "Check on the children." Jenna's stomach clenched. "Who is this?" Click. Her hands felt clammy as she put the phone down. A prank call, obviously. Someone trying to freak her out. She shook it off and turned back to her phone. 15 minutes later, the phone rang again. This time, she didn't answer right away. But something gnawed at her. What if it was the Parkers? What if something had happened? Slowly, she picked up. "Hello?" That same ragged breathing, then the whisper. "Check on the children." Jenna's heart pounded. "Listen, whoever this is, you need to stop calling." Click. She stood up, trying to calm herself. The kids were fine. She had just put them to bed, but something about the calls unsettled her. She decided to check anyway. She crept upstairs, peeking into Max's room first. He was sound asleep, his stuffed dinosaur tucked under his arm. She let out a breath and moved to Lily's room. The soft glow of her nightlight bathed the room in warm light. Jenna stepped inside quietly, just to be sure. Then she noticed something that made her blood run cold. The window was open. Jenna knew she hadn't opened it, and Lily wasn't the type to do so either. She rushed to it, looking out into the dark backyard. Nothing, just the swaying trees and empty lawn. She shut and locked the window before turning back to the bed. That's when she saw them. Muddy footprints. Not Lily's, much too large. A cold dread settled over her. The phone rang again. This time, Jenna didn't move. She couldn't. She just stared at the footprints leading from the window, all the way to the closet. The phone kept ringing, and then, from inside the closet, the whisper came again. "I told you to check on the children." Story 3. The Last Goodbye. The eerie phone call. The last goodbye. It was 2:37 a.m. when my phone rang. I wasn't expecting a call. Who would be calling at this hour? Groggy and half asleep, I reached for my phone on the nightstand. The screen glowed, illuminating the dark room. Mom. Confused, I sat up. My mom had passed away 6 months ago. My chest tightened as I stared at the name on the screen. It had to be a mistake, a cruel glitch. But the phone kept ringing, the sound piercing the silence of the night. Hands shaking, I finally answered. Hello? At first, there was nothing, just a low, crackling static. Then, "Sweetheart?" I nearly dropped the phone. It was her voice, software, faint, but unmistakable. "Mom!" My voice came out barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry," she said. Her voice wavered like she was far away. I didn't get to say goodbye. My breath hitched. My mother had died suddenly from a heart attack. There had been no warning, no last words, no chance to say goodbye. I felt tears sting my eyes. "Mom, how is this possible?" The static deepened. "I don't have much time," she murmured. "I need to warn you." A chill ran through me. The air in my room suddenly felt heavy, suffocating. "Warn me about what?" A long silence stretched between us. Then, barely audible, "He's in the house." Every hair on my body stood on end. I swallowed hard. What do you mean? Who? "He's watching you." My body turned ice cold. My eyes darted around the dark room. My closet door stood ajar. Had it been open before? My curtains rustled slightly, though the window was closed. "Mom," I whispered, my voice shaking. This isn't real. You're gone." A static-laced breath. Then, "Run." The call disconnected. A deafening silence followed. My ears rang. My heart pounded against my ribs. Then I heard it. A soft creak from the hallway. I wasn't alone. Slowly, I slid out of bed, every muscle tense. The floorboards outside my room groaned under the weight of something. Someone. The phone slipped from my grip, landing on the carpet. I reached for the lamp on my nightstand, flipping it on. Light flooded the room, but my bedroom door was now open. I knew for certain. I'd closed it before bed. My breath came in short, shallow gasps. I wanted to scream, to move, to do something. But fear pinned me in place. Then, just beyond the doorway, I saw it. A shadow, tall, motionless, watching me. My mother's last words echoed in my head. "He's in the house." And then, the phone rang again. Story 4. The Wrong Number. The Eerie. Phone call. The wrong number. It started with a simple mistake. At least, that's what I thought. It was late, around midnight, when my phone rang. I was sitting on my couch, half asleep, a horror movie playing in the background. The caller ID showed an unknown number. I hesitated before answering. "Hello?" At first, there was silence. Then, a woman's voice, softly whispered. "Hello? Who is this?" Something about her tone made me uneasy. It wasn't the usual wrong number call where someone just hangs up or apologizes. There was something off, like she wasn't expecting me to answer. "You called me," I said, trying to sound firm. "I think you have the wrong number." A long pause, then in a slow, trembling voice she whispered, "No, I don't." A chill ran down my spine. Before I could respond, she spoke again, this time more urgent. "Please, listen. You're in danger." I sat up straight, suddenly wide awake. "What?" "You have to leave," she said, her voice breaking. "He's watching you." I felt my skin crawl. I glanced around my dimly lit apartment. Every shadow seemed darker. The TV flickered, casting eerie shapes on the walls. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice unsteady. She ignored my question. "He doesn't like when they answer. Her breath hitched, and I heard a rustling sound like the phone being fumbled. Then, a low, guttural breathing on the other end. A new voice, deep, menacing. "Wrong number." Then the call disconnected. For a few seconds I just sat there, gripping my phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. My heart pounded against my ribs. It had to be a prank. Some sick joke. But then... My phone buzzed again. A new message from an unknown number. It was a picture. A picture of me, sitting on my couch. The exact moment I had answered the call. Cold terror flooded my veins. I was alone. My doors were locked. My windows shut. No one should have been able to take that photo. I bolted up, scanning the room, my breath coming in short, panicked gasps. I grabbed a kitchen knife and ran to check my locks. Still bolted. No sign of a break-in. Then, another message. Just 2 words. "Look outside." My hands trembled as I walked to the window, dread pooling in my stomach. Slowly, I pulled back the curtain, and there, in the darkness, standing completely still on the sidewalk, was a man. Tall, motionless, holding a phone to his ear. The screen glowed in the dark. He was calling me. Story 5. The Echo of the Dead. The eerie phone call. The echo of the dead. It started after my grandmother's funeral. She had been the heart of our family, a kind, gentle woman with stories that stretched back decades. When she passed away, it left a hollow feeling in all of us. But for me, the emptiness was worse. I was the last one to speak to her before she died. The night after we laid her to rest, my phone rang at 3:12 a.m. I was groggy, barely registering the call before I answered. "Hello?" At first, there was silence. Then static, faint crackling in my ear like a distant radio signal. "Hello?" I repeated, my voice hoarse, and then I heard it. A whisper, a voice I knew too well. "Sweetheart?" My breath caught in my throat. It was my grandmother. It was impossible. She was gone. I sat up, my hands clammy against the phone. "Grandma?" I asked, my voice shaking. The static grew louder, swallowing the silence. Then her voice came through again. But this time, it was wrong. "It's dark here. So dark." I felt ice crawl up my spine. Where are you?" I whispered, my fingers tightening around the phone. The sound of rustling, like fabric shifting. Then a long, ragged breath. "I don't know, but I can hear them." A wave of dread hit me like a freight train. "Who?" Silence. Then a low whisper behind her voice. Not words, just a sound, like wind through dead trees. But it wasn't the wind. It was something else. Something listening. "I have to go," she said suddenly, her voice sharp, urgent. "Don't answer if they call back. Please, sweetheart, don't." The call cut out. I sat there, frozen, my heart hammering in my chest. For the next hour I stared at my phone, waiting. It stayed silent. No messages, no calls, just the endless, suffocating quiet of my darkened bedroom. I barely slept. When I woke up, I checked my call log, half expecting to see nothing. Maybe it had been a dream. But the call was there. 3:12 a.m., unknown number. I tried calling back. The number was disconnected. I never told anyone. But sometimes late at night when the world is still, my phone will vibrate just once. No caller ID, no message. And in the silence, if I listen closely enough, I swear I can hear my grandmother whispering. Story 6. The Hotel Room Call. The eerie phone call. The hotel room call. I was traveling for work, exhausted from back-to-back meetings, and all I wanted was a good night's sleep. I had booked a room in a small, older hotel, not quite run down but far from luxurious. It had a certain charm, but something about it felt off. Maybe it was the dim lighting in the hallways, or the way the carpet smelled faintly of dust and something I couldn't quite place. By the time I got to my room 803, I was too tired to care. I tossed my bag onto the chair, kicked off my shoes, and collapsed onto the bed. I must have dozed off quickly because the next thing I remember was the phone ringing. I groggily sat up, rubbing my eyes. I glanced at the clock. 2:47 a.m. Who would be calling me at this hour? I picked up the receiver. Hello. There was a brief moment of silence, then a woman's voice, soft, whispering. You need to leave your room. Now. I frowned. What? Who is this? No response, just static on the other end. Hello? I said again, but the line went dead. I hung up, my skin crawling. At first I thought it was a prank call. Maybe the hotel staff messing around or a guest from another room dialing random numbers. I shook it off, laid back down, and tried to sleep, but the phone rang again. I hesitated before picking it up. This time the voice was urgent. You have to get out. He's coming. I sat up straight, my pulse pounding. Who's coming? Silence. Then the sound of breathing. Slow. Raspy. Too close to the receiver. A chill ran down my spine. If you don't leave now, the woman whispered, he will knock. The line cut out, and then knock, knock, knock. I jumped, nearly dropping the phone. The knocking came from the door to my room. Slow, deliberate. I stared at it, frozen. My mind raced. Had I locked the door? I couldn't remember. Another knock. Then the handle turned. I grabbed my bag, heart hammering, and bolted to the door, unlocking it and swinging it open. The hallway was empty. I looked left, then right. Nothing. Just the eerie, flickering light at the end of the hall. I turned back to my room. The phone was off the hook. I hadn't touched it. I checked out first thing in the morning. I asked the front desk about the calls, but they swore they hadn't connected anyone to my room. Story 7. The Unfinished Call. The Eerie Phone Call. The Unfinished Call. It started with a missed call. I was at work, going through emails when my phone vibrated. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something about it nagged at me. A gut feeling. I let it ring, then checked my voicemail. The message was only 3 seconds long. Static, then a faint sound like someone trying to speak but getting cut off. I deleted it and moved on. Later that night, while I was making dinner, my phone rang again. Same number. This time, I answered. Hello? At first, just silence. Then a voice. Weak, barely above a whisper. Help me. I straightened up, heart pounding. Who is this? I asked. The voice crackled through static. Please. I don't have much time. And then, the call dropped. I stood there, phone in hand, my skin crawling. Something about the voice felt wrong. Not just scared, familiar. I checked the call log. The number was just zeros. No origin, no location. I tried calling back. The line was disconnected. I told myself it was a prank, a robocall, something explainable. But then, it happened again. At 3:12 a.m., my phone rang. Same number. I didn't want to answer, but my hand moved on its own, lifting the phone to my ear. Hello? This time the voice was clearer. You have to listen. I shivered. Who are you? The next words made my blood run cold. It's me. I felt like I had been punched in the chest, because the voice on the other end was mine. Distorted, desperate, but unmistakably mine. Listen to me. Don't go outside tomorrow. Don't answer the door. Don't. Silence. The call cut off mid-sentence. I sat there, gripping my phone, my breath shaky. I barely slept. The next day, I stayed home. Too uneasy to leave. By evening, I convinced myself I had imagined it. And then, at 7:04 p.m., someone knocked on my door. Slow, rhythmic. I checked the peephole. A man stood there. His face was obscured, shadowed by the setting sun. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Then, my phone rang. I looked down. Unknown number. My hands trembled as I answered. Don't open it, my own voice whispered. Then the line went dead. Story 8. The Mirror Reflection. The eerie phone call. The mirror. Reflection. It started with a phone call at 2:37 a.m. I was half asleep when my phone buzzed loudly on the nightstand. Squinting at the screen, I saw the words, unknown caller. I hesitated but picked up. Hello? At first there was nothing but static. Then I heard breathing. Slow, uneven. Who is this? I asked, sitting up. A pause. Then in a voice identical to mine, it whispered, Don't look at the mirror. Chills ran down my spine. I instinctively turned my head toward the full-length mirror across my room. I was alone. Yet, something felt off. My reflection stood still, but too still, like it was waiting for something. I turned back to my phone. Who the hell is this? The line went dead. I sat there, heart pounding. It had to be a prank, a sick joke, but the moment I set my phone down, the screen lit up again. Incoming. Call. Unknown number. I hesitated. My thumb hovered over the answer button. Don't look, I murmured to myself, but the curiosity was unbearable. I turned toward the mirror, and that's when my reflection blinked at me. I didn't blink. It did. My stomach dropped. My reflection wasn't copying me anymore, it was watching me. And then it smiled. A slow, twisted grin spread across its face while mine remained frozen in horror. The phone rang again. With a shaking hand, I answered. I told you not to look. The voice wasn't just similar to mine anymore. It was exactly the same. I was barely breathing. My body was numb. Then, from the mirror, my reflection took a step forward. Not in the mirror. Into my room. The phone slipped from my grasp. My reflection, no, the thing pretending to be me, cocked its head, still grinning. It took another step, and another. I tried to move, to scream, to run, but I couldn't. It stopped inches from me, eyes locked onto mine. Then, in my own voice, it whispered, It's your turn now. Darkness swallowed everything. The next morning, my roommate found me standing in front of the mirror. Eyes open, not blinking. When she spoke my name, I turned to her and smiled. But it wasn't me anymore. Story 9. The Silent Countdown. It started as just another normal night. I was alone in my apartment, lying in bed, scrolling through my phone when it rang. I frowned. Unknown number. I usually ignore calls like this, but something about it made my stomach clench. I hesitated, then picked up. Silence. Hello? I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Still nothing. No breathing, no static. Just a heavy, suffocating silence. I pulled the phone away to hang up. 10. I froze. The voice was deep, distorted, and unnatural. It sounded wrong. What? I stammered. 9. A chill ran down my spine. Was this some kind of prank? Some sick joke? Who is this? I demanded. 8. I sat up, my heart pounding. My bedroom door was slightly open, leading to the dark hallway beyond. Suddenly, my apartment felt too big, too empty. 7. The voice never changed. No emotion, no hesitation. Just a cold, steady countdown. I jumped out of bed and turned on every light. My hands were shaking as I checked the locks on my doors and windows. 6. I hung up. The second I did, my phone rang again. Unknown number. I didn't want to answer, but something in me knew if I didn't, it would keep calling. I pressed the answer button, my breath shaky. 5. Tears pricked my eyes. I wasn't sure why, but I was terrified. "What do you want?" I shouted. 4. I was not alone anymore. I felt it, a presence in the room. The air was heavy, pressing against my chest. I turned around slowly, my breath caught in my throat. 3. A shadow stretched across the floor. It wasn't mine. I backed up, my legs weak, my stomach churning. 2. The room was suffocating. The walls felt like they were closing in. Tears rolled down my cheeks. I was shaking so hard I could barely stand. 1. The call ended. I didn't dare move. My body was frozen in fear. Then, a soft creak from my closet. I turned toward it. The door, which had been closed all night, was now slightly ajar, and from the darkness inside, something whispered. 0. Story 10. The 911 Call from Nowhere. It was a slow night at the dispatch center, the kind where the clock seemed to tick slower just to mess with you. I had worked as a 911 operator for almost 5 years, and I'd heard it all. Domestic disputes, fires, break-ins, people calling because their cat was stuck in a tree. But that night I got a call I will never forget. At exactly 3:12 a.m., my screen lit up. Unknown number. That wasn't uncommon. Some calls came from unregistered phones or old landlines. I adjusted my headset and answered. 911, what's your emergency? For a moment, silence. Then a faint, trembling voice. Help! Please help me. The voice sounded like a young woman, weak and terrified. Ma'am, what's your location? I asked, fingers hovering over the keyboard ready to send officers. Silence. Ma'am, can you tell me where you are? I don't know. It's so dark. Her breathing was ragged, almost like she had been running or hiding. I pulled up the call's location. No address found. That was strange. Even burner phones ping off towers, giving at least a rough idea of where they are. Can you describe where you are? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. She sniffled. There's a mirror and a chair. I hear something scratching. A cold shiver ran down my spine. Is there anyone with you? A pause. Then a whisper. Not anymore. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? Did someone take them? Who's not there anymore? No response, just shaky breathing. Then the sound of static, faint at first, then growing louder until it was a high-pitched screech. I yanked off my headset, wincing. When I put it back on, she was sobbing. He's coming back. Who? Who is coming? I pressed, my heart hammering. Then, in a voice so quiet it barely came through the receiver, she whispered, He doesn't like when I talk to you. The call cut out. I stared at the screen. Call disconnected. I tried calling back, but there was no dial tone, just more static. Then my screen flashed. New incoming call, unknown number. I hesitated, then picked up. Silence, and then a deep, slow breathing. Right in my ear. I slammed the phone down. The next morning, I asked our supervisor to track the call logs. The system had no record of the number. It was as if the call had never happened. 11. The call that never ends. It started as a simple wrong number. At least, that's what I thought. It was a little past midnight when my phone rang. The number was blocked, but I answered anyway. Hello. No response. Just static, soft at first, then growing louder, like someone was breathing just beyond the speaker. "Who is this?" I asked. A long pause. Then, in a distorted whisper, "Help me." The call cut out before I could say anything. I stared at my phone, my chest tight. Just a prank, I told myself, but something about the voice. It sounded off. It wasn't just scared, it sounded wrong. I shook it off and went back to watching TV. But then, the phone rang again, blocked number. I hesitated before answering. "Hello?" More static. Then, the same whisper. "Help me. Please." This time I spoke quickly. "Who are you? What do you want?" But the only response was a click. I turned my phone off and went to bed, but I couldn't shake the unease curling in my gut. At 3 a.m., my phone turned itself back on and rang. I bolted upright, heart hammering. The same blocked number. My thumb hovered over decline, but before I could press it, the call answered itself. The speaker crackled to life and a new sound filled the room. A ticking clock. Tick, tick, tick. Then that same breathy voice. "He's coming." I threw my phone across the room. The screen shattered, but the call was still connected. Tick, tick, tick. I grabbed my phone with trembling hands and hung up. Seconds later, it rang again. I turned off my phone, ripped out the battery, and threw it in my nightstand. For a few moments, there was silence. Then, my landline rang. I didn't even have caller ID on it, but I knew. It was the same call. I picked it up, voice shaking. "What do you want?" A deep breath, then a voice I hadn't heard before, low, guttural, inhuman. "Don't hang up this time." I screamed and slammed the phone down. I barely slept that night, my ears straining for any sound. But the calls didn't come again. For a week, I convinced myself it was over. Just some sick joke. Then, one night, at exactly midnight, my phone rang again. No number, no caller ID, no escape. Finally, I had to turn off all my phones for 6 months and got the new one. Never have I received then call since then. Story 12. The Long-Lost Voicemail. I never expected to hear my mom's voice again. She had passed away 3 years ago. A sudden heart attack. There was no warning, no chance to say goodbye. The loss was unbearable, and for months I found myself staring at old text messages, listening to saved voicemails just to hear her voice again. But eventually, I had to move on. I got a new phone, a new number, and time did what it does best. It dulled the pain. Then, last week, I got a voicemail. I almost ignored it at first. The number was unknown, and I rarely get calls from numbers I don't recognize. But something made me check. The message was only 6 seconds long. At first, it was just static, low and crackling like an old radio tuning in. Then I heard it. "Sweetheart, are you there?" I froze. It was my mother's voice. The voicemail ended in a sharp click, and my phone screen showed "Message deleted" before I could save it. My heart pounded in my chest. It wasn't possible. There was no way. I went through every possible explanation. A prank? An old voicemail glitching back into my inbox? Some kind of weird AI voice scam? But deep down, I knew that voice. I knew the way she called me sweetheart. It was her. That night I barely slept. My mind kept replaying the message, searching for something, anything, to make sense of it. Then, at 3:15 a.m., my phone lit up. A new voicemail. My hands trembled as I pressed play. More static. Then, breathing, and then. "It's so cold here." I felt sick. My chest tightened, my stomach turned. I turned my phone off and shoved it under my pillow as if that could somehow stop the messages. Break time, 1. But the next night, at exactly 3:15 a.m., another voicemail appeared. This time the voice was weaker, more distant. I can't find the way back. Help me." Tears blurred my vision. I wanted to believe it was a hoax. I wanted to believe I was dreaming. But every fiber of my being knew. This wasn't just some malfunction. My mother was trying to reach me, or something that sounded like her. I haven't checked my phone since. I keep it off at night. I dread 3:15 a.m., but even when it's off, I swear, I can still hear it, a faint voice, a whisper through the static. "Sweetheart, are you there?"